You're listening to Turi Writers' She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marcy Persky. In this installment, we have a missing cattle guard and a great employment opportunity for your neighborhood meth addict. Also, a story about Marcy's life that I've gotten wrong for years. I can hear you. It was my headphones misbehaving. It's just another one of those things I refuse to replace, even though clearly they're old and falling apart.
I did that with a couple husbands. I didn't.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, you can relate.
We're not recording yet.
No, we're recording, and I'm keeping that in. I think everybody needs to know.
Yeah, nice.
That's a good attitude. You know, this isn't working very well. It's a mess. I probably should get a new one, replace it, but I've been using these for so long. Yeah.
Okay, so
yes.
You know what a cattle guard is?
I do. And why don't you explain for people who don't?
I think most of our urban people may not know.
I didn't know. The first time I went to visit my girlfriend Belle up on Sonoma Mountain, she said, now you're going to go across 2 cattle guards. And I imagined, like when your kids are going to school and they have the crossing guard in the little reflective vest with the flag.
Yep.
That was my first thought. I'm like, oh, look at that. They have a cattle guard in Sonoma, known for its agriculture and its cattle. That must be what they do. But I was wrong.
Well, as you know, as we discussed before, we have frequent cow visitors to our property. And
yes,
they're not polite guests.
No, they wind up there and they're very insistent, as I recall.
Yeah, and they poop all over and they knock things over and try to get up on our deck. And so we have a cattle guard that is somewhat effective, not highly effective. And the other day we're coming home. Oh, explain what it is, right?
Yeah, you have to explain.
It's kind of it's a shallow ditch with pipes across it, like really thick, big black pipes. And I'm not good at sizes and measurements, but if you can describe this,
it's like a giant grill. Like if you have a Weber grill.
Exactly.
Except imagine it being like the width of the road and about 4 feet across with giant metal pipes where your Weber grill parts would be.
Exactly. And they're round pipes. Well, we're coming home the other day and there was a big sign on either side of the cattle guard on Marcy Persky Boulevard, which is about a quarter of a mile from our house is where it starts. And it says, we cannot fix your cattle guard until somebody brings back the pipe.
No.
Somebody stole a pipe out of the cattle guard.
Just one?
Just one. And what could you possibly do with a single, very heavy, probably lead pipe? And 2, why do people steal things?
Well, the obvious answer about who stole it is that it was the cattle. They do not wish to be inhibited. They wish to carom around your yard as fast or as slowly as they like. That's their thing. If I were the cattle, I'd get that nasty guard out of my way.
Well, my youngest child, of course, she attributes everything to meth heads because she's convinced out here that the hills have eyes and there are meth labs everywhere.
Well, I don't know about meth labs everywhere, but it seems to me, you know that great scene in Breaking Bad where the meth addicts kidnap an entire ATM machine?
Yeah.
Because they have no idea of how it really works or whether they'll ever be able to get into it.
Yes.
Has to be one of the funniest things I've ever seen on television. I'm sure that the scene is on YouTube. But if you're a serious meth head, what the hell do you know about the value of what you're actually taking? I had a friend who is now, he claims 2 years clean and sober. I'm not so sure, but he lost everything. Big house in the Hollywood Hills. Fantastic career, more money than you and I will ever see, sports cars everywhere. Pardon?
Probably several teeth.
Yeah, he probably lost several teeth too. But he lost all of that. But he was so out of it by the time I last saw him. I was trying to get help for him. I called the union, tried to get him into rehab. I wasn't the only one. Several people had tried to get him into rehab. He would, at one point, he went up to the door and then left. And another time they refused to take him because they said he's not at all interested in getting clean and sober. But the point that I wanted to make is at his worst, I don't think he would have known the difference between a lead pipe and gold from Fort Knox that you could sell for a little bit of money. I don't think so. He actually was trying to tell me that Dick Cheney was coming to him through his laptop computer and spying on him.
It would obviously, however, take some kind of motivation and work to remove this one pipe, since they're all kind of welded in there.
But this is the
Like
thing
somebody
about
went through a lot of trouble.
this is the thing about meth heads. They will fixate, and maybe they decide that Dick Cheney is spying on them through the cattle grate. That really it's an antenna. And they'll get busy at this thing, and nothing will dissuade them. They will just keep at whatever task. The best thing you could possibly get as a maid service would be early stage meth addicts. They would show up and they would scrub your tile grout like nobody's business with a toothbrush, and they wouldn't feel bad about it. They'd just be at it. You could hire a meth addict for each room, hide your jewelry and your money and anything they could sell, and just let them clean because they fixate. So I think your daughter may have a point.
See, I checking all the tax rolls to see if there's anybody from Australia that may have moved out here, and they took that pipe to make a didgeridoo, or however you pronounce it.
Is a didgeridoo made out of metal?
I don't know, but it's a pipe.
Aye.
I've been listening for it, but I haven't heard it.
Well, while you're at it, how about the
Now
people with the Tuvan nose flutes? I mean, could you stick it up your nose?
No, unless you've got it like a horse nose. I guess a cow could stick it up their nose.
Well, I'm telling you again, it's maybe your cows have a Coke problem. This is their idea of a rolled up dollar bill.
Well, right now we just have one enemy cow, and it's a little cow.
One enemy
But
cow.
we saw it today again, and Frankie just built a play set for the baby, for our 15-month-old grandson.
And here comes
And
the
it's
cow.
sitting in the front yard. Well, if that cow gets anywhere near it,
Uh-oh.
I will kick that cow in the udder or whatever else it has,
Ooh.
because I haven't gotten that close to it.
Uh-huh. So you don't know what it has.
No, but it's small. I know I can take it on.
All right. Cow versus grandma. The grudge match.
We're actually putting down AstroTurf where this playground is.
Yes.
This is where our summer house that we discussed. This is where the summer house is going. All the money for the summer house is going to put AstroTurf down on the cinders so that the baby has a little playroom and a safe place to land.
Well, either the AstroTurf prices have skyrocketed or you were planning to buy yourself like a portable shed from Home Depot and call that your summer home.
AstroTurf is really expensive up here.
Really?
Very expensive. Yeah. I think because no one could grow grass.
Yeah.
So it's in demand.
Well, why don't you smuggle it in from
Better.
the Midwest or something?
Well, because then I would have to go to the Midwest.
Oh, you poor thing.
I don't think it would fit underneath my clothes.
You poor
Even
thing.
if I pretended to be pregnant, I don't think I could fit 300
How big
feet.
is this? How big? 300 feet? 300
No, I don't
square
know.
feet of AstroTurf? That's a pretty
It's
big.
no, they're 15 feet across or something like that. I don't know.
Well, the fine points of AstroTurf are beyond me, but I just.
yeah, you're asking me to do math.
This is what happens to some grandparents. They just lose their minds. I would like to point out, this is an important moment. You are now with your grandkid, where I used to be with, and I am in relation to you with the grandkid, where I used to be with people who had children, which is, I don't really understand why they do anything. The people with children, when I didn't have children, just astonished me at the things they did for their children. And I'd be like, they're just kids. Why are you making such a fuss over them? And now you have a grandkid, and I find myself going, what the it's a grandkid. What is
you know what?
Yeah.
Grandkids are better than your real kids. And I hated kids before I had one.
Someone should
And
have
I
warned
still-
you that 4 wasn't going to make it any better than 1 or 2.
that was just carelessness, but we won't tell those 4.
Too late now. Too late now.
Well, the first one, I was on the pill.
I
And
love
this
this
is-
story. I love this story. I love
This
this
is-
story. Marcy's on the pill. She gets married.
9 months later, but actually about 3 months after we got married, I got really sick. I was throwing up every single day, and I was on the pill. And we went up to northern Michigan to visit my husband's family. And I wound up, his mother was a nurse, and she took me to the pediatrician that took care of my husband when he was a little boy, because I was the only doctor around. And he said, "Can you be pregnant?" And I said, "Hell no. No possible stinking way. I'm on the pill." And he said, "Well, have you been sick lately?"
Oh, boy.
And I said, "Well, yeah, I had a strep throat or something like that when we first moved to Chicago. And I had antibiotics." And that is how I found out that antibiotics canceled out the effects of the early birth control pills.
But not the case anymore.
No.
Do you know
no,
I've been
but
telling
this was
this story?
1981.
I have been telling this story totally wrong for decades now.
Yeah.
You'll have a chance to hear the wrong version of the story in the next installment. Thanks for listening to Tory Writers' She Said What podcast. We're glad you found us, and I hope you'll find my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air. It's all true, but I've changed the names of the people and the radio stations and a bunch of other stuff because I'd prefer not to get sued. You can find it at your neighborhood independent bookstore or on Amazon.